Do you also think that Indians are really overtaxed? They are not getting what they are paying for. But you don't know that there is a tax paradox that lies underneath, and we need to know about that today. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh, and in today's session we are going to address a pain point of the middle class. We are talking about July. It brings in the income tax return filing season, where every time the people who are paying taxes are putting their hands on their heads and thinking, why are we paying so much tax? And when we look at it with a very clear analytical lens, what we get to see is something that will surprise you. Because India is not one of those countries which have the highest tax rates. Still, the people, the economy feels burdened under the tax. And if you put this question to the middle class especially, they will heavily say yes when we will ask if they are feeling that they are overtaxed. So if you are looking at this perception of being overtaxed, and when India is not charging high taxes, we have to understand they are linked by a cycle of not just what tax rate is being taken, but also who is contributing, how much they are contributing, and many other factors. So today's session is going to center around that. So let us begin with the first thing. When I ask you a question, what do you feel? Is India overtaxed or not? So let me know your yes and no's right away, and then we will be checking by the end of the session as well. So starting with a plain fact in front of you to show that when we are talking about the highest personal income tax rates which are present across the world, you get to see that Germany, United Kingdom, they are charging as high as 45%. But when we are looking at India, it is at 30%, and this is when we are talking about surcharge, cesses, and especially for high income. Furthermore, we also get to see that there are many European countries who are levying even higher marginal tax rates. So this gives you first insight into the fact that when we are talking about that if India is being overtaxed, this is your fact number one that will show you that probably not. The tax rates, at least by international global standards, in India are not that exuberantly high. So the question comes, why do we feel so? So let us look into another fact that will establish something more important for us, that is the tax paradox. The one thing that I started this conversation with. So for this, let us take a sample case study of 2024-25 where we see the population which is more than 1.4 billion. The ITR numbers which were filed, 8.7 crore plus. If you are taking in million, somewhere around 87 million. And when we look at the exemptions that were given, the returns that were made, after that we come to a plain number, that is 3% of this number is only paying the income tax. Now when we compare this number to economies such as United States, where 47% of the population is paying income taxes, Germany 54% of the population is paying income taxes, we clearly get to see that whatever tax is being collected, it is coming from a very small tax base. And this is where the tax paradox comes in. That means 1.4 billion, the nation is of these many people. So when we will be looking for services that are provided using the taxes, that is being paid only by 3%. Now, there are valid reasons also about the fact that why only 3% are paying, such as we have large informal economy, agriculture income tax is exempted, we are agriculture based economy till date, our primary sector employs more than 65% of the population, we have lower average income, then we have tax rebates, there are significant cash based employment in informal economies especially, and formalization of labor is extremely limited as of now. So what we conclude from the fact number 2 that we have seen, that as of now we have a very teeny tiny taxpayer base which is paying the taxes and the services are being created. The government has this tax revenue coming only from 3% of the population. Now this is exactly where our taxation debate becomes unique. Now this is one part of it. I will be introducing yet another, not fact, rather a concept that will make you understand that why being overtaxed is something very familiar. First reason is this. Second reason is we are paying twice. Why are we paying twice? Because when we are paying taxes, especially when you look at the developed countries, when you are talking about Germany, you are looking at United Kingdom, these are the places where higher education, basic education, healthcare, insurance, all of this is looked after the government. But in our case, what we are doing, we have to first pay taxes. Then when we need health insurance, we need private schools or coaching, we need to go on roads, we have to pay road tax and tolls, home maintenance, utilities, private transport, because public transportation is comparatively limited, we have to pay again. So we are giving money, that 3% of the population is giving money first and then they have to pay again. And this is where the frustration brings in. That is where you feel the burden of being overtaxed. You feel that if I am paying the taxes, there are certain basic amenities that the government should give, but you have to understand that taxpayer base is so small that only limited things can be taken up. And in that limited things, we will also understand that there are so many welfare-based programs. So which makes it difficult for the government to double down on the amenities that we have to pay for yet again. Now in this context, you have to understand that this is where we have to look at it as an economic issue, yes, but you have to look at it also as an issue of erosion of public trust. And when we combine both of these situations, the small tax base and the double payment, the twice payment that we are seeing. For example, the salary comes in, you have already paid the income tax, but you cannot compromise on this. You want health insurance because that's a necessity. You want to ensure basic maintenance done in home. You want to ensure that your kids are going to best of the schools. So in this context, what will happen? You are paying twice. What that leads up to is a feeling of being overtaxed, but when we look at not just tax rate, but also tax to GDP ratio, what we are seeing that India only has approximately 12% of tax to GDP ratio. Basically, tax to GDP ratio refers to the tax revenue collected as compared to the GDP. So the percentage of tax revenue collected. For example, let's just say 2 rupees is tax revenue collected, GDP is 100, then tax to GDP ratio becomes 2%. In this context, when we are looking at OECD countries, we are seeing that the average falls between 30 to 40%. So not just tax rate, in this context also we get to see that India does not collect excessive taxes compared to developed countries, but it is that tax paradox which is doubling down on the public and makes them feel overtaxed. Now the feeling of overtaxed comes from another reason, because when we are talking about paying twice, after making this double payment, public expects better services. They want better roads where there is limited traffic, they want quality healthcare, good public education, reliable public transport, clean water, efficient policing. So when we look at institutional requirements, what citizens expect in return, I am not talking about economic inputs. I can understand reliable public transport is a heavy economic investment. Institutional setups are as well, but at the same time, this is the basic amenity that the citizen is expecting, that there should be less corruption, there should be more accountability, exam integrity, merit protection. Basic example, what happened in NEET, for which we are seeing ongoing protest, transparent governance. All of this taxpayer expects, and when we look at the checklist, how many of do you think are being fulfilled in our country? Absolutely okay, that the citizen can feel, okay, 3 of them are the best thing happening, we don't regret paying our money. So in this context, we also have to understand when the taxpayer is giving their money, they are not expecting that, okay, take lesser money from us. But if you have taken money, then please give better value, better services, and also greater accountability. And now when we look at this not happening, we have to understand where does money go to. The biggest portion here still is in terms of welfare schemes and subsidy, rural development connectivity, defense, and we also have to look at the interest payments. So the ones left for ensuring that this checklist is ticked out is comparatively limited. And that is why when we are talking about the taxes which are responsible for the creation of service, security and infrastructure, they are responsible for moving the nation forward. We have to understand that how much of 3% of population can do this for, how much 12% of tax to GDP ratio can create, and this checklist remains unfulfilled, thus leading to the feeling of continuously being overtaxed. So now what are your thoughts on this? That actually if you are overtaxed or not? And what should be the way forward from here? So my conclusion to this debate is the fact that the issue only is not taxation, it is taxation with accountability and then public service delivery with public trust. Citizens are not merely asking for lower taxes, they are asking for better value at this point of time. Now, based on this debate, what are your thoughts in the end? And also I would like to know that how we can do better, how we can expect better responsibility from government, better governance from the government. Let me know in the comment section. I'll be waiting for your way forward, and I'm also leaving you here with the prelims practice question. Now that was all from my side. Thank you so much.